Hello everybody. Welcome back for another video. Hope you're all doing well. Hope you're all doing fantastic and that you're all having a wonderful day. Don't forget to subscribe to my other YouTube channel. It is called Money Rules. Link in the description below. And without any further ado, let's jump right into it. Well, you know the deal. Well, first of all, just woke up, so you know if I sound crazy or weird, that's just part of the game because my brain still isn't like completely activated. What's two? Yeah. So the last couple of weeks, you've kind of seen the loop or the consistency in the news that we've been getting. And everyone talking about Bitcoin's price, the price predictions, and where Bitcoin's price is going, dare I say, to go for those of you who've somehow missed 2 weeks worth of videos. I'm not really sure. Everyone is of the same mindset, at least every single analyst, that prices are moving on up, if you will, and expected to go far higher, that we've basically entered the time frame, the window, the scenario, the season for mega gains to happen within the cryptocurrency space. A popular crypto analyst thinks historical trends indicate Bitcoin could be on the verge of a breakout. A pseudonymous trader known as Rect Capital told 500,000 people on Twitter that Bitcoin has historically broken out from its reaccumulation range between 154 and 161 days after its halvings. Notice how, this is from my vantage point, notice how there are so many like days and numbers correlating to when Bitcoin should have or would have or could have or should have actually done something. We typically hear the 90 to 100 days after the halving, and I will tell you completely, frankly, honestly, as long as I've been doing this channel and the amount of cycles that I've been in, I've never heard of a reaccumulation range from 154 to 161 days after its halving, but I completely digress. He said it is 157 days after the halving now. History suggests it is breakout time for Bitcoin. There's a little chart right there, and there's some lines, and it's showing this happening, and apparently we're right next to the green, or we're in the green, or the green has to go higher, and then the green is supposed to green itself. I'm not really sure. The analyst said historical patterns suggest Bitcoin will now transition into its parabolic upside phase. Recht also noted that standard halving cycles indicate that the current Bitcoin cycle is only 44.8% of the way through of the ongoing bull market. This is normally calculated once again from the halving or sometimes even before the halving, depending on whose charts that you have. This is why I was saying it's very weird that every day we have a different analyst, for those of you who've missed it. There's been a different analyst every single day discussing where Bitcoin's price is going to go. And the good part is that they're all coming to the exact same conclusion, not like any deviations, not anything remotely bearish. Everyone is like, no, now is the time. We're going to pump. And a lot of people say we're going to pump harder, like we are meant to. For those of you who haven't caught on, the assumptions are, not even assumptions are that by the time we get to the end of November and or the mid-December, we should be well over a $100,000 Bitcoin to, I think the highest we saw was a 165,000, somewhere around that number. Everyone's of the exact same mindset. And for those of you wondering why the 44.8% of the way through, it's because it's usually calculated as where Bitcoin's previous bottom was. So when we hit $16,000, you can kind of see on the chart right here, this was meant to be like the literal, if you will, beginning of the bull run. So whenever we hit the lowest point and we start moving back up, basically there's like an upward trend. And then at some point, people realize, okay, we're not going to hit 16,000 again. So this is kind of the new normal. This is the new normal. This is the new normal. This is the new normal. And then once we get to these like green bars and lines and all the other triangles and things that people have, people begin to calculate and say, okay, the beginning of the bull run was here, similar to like around this time. This is meant to be like the drop. Okay, looks like we're not going to go any lower. The bull run is therefore beginning. This is how things are normally calculated. Right. Another day, another prediction, another awesome breakout news. I'm not really sure. It's very nice to see, as I've stated before in multiple other videos. It will be interesting to see if we actually hit these numbers over the course of the time frame that all these people have been telling us that we are going to actually hit these numbers. The numbers now to look out for are 100,000 to $165,000 by the time we're like swinging around Christmas, the holiday season. That's the numbers that we've been told. But every morning, every day, the news is littered, absolutely littered with people talking about Bitcoin's price, where it's going to go, how much higher we're going to go, where this is going to happen. There's very few like altcoin news in that direction. One would assume there would be a lot of like technical analysis news for altcoins. There's, barely any. The most that we tend to get, or that I see, revolve around news around like Shiba Inu is expected to go up by 3,000%. Ethereum looks like it could go up by 1,800%. XRP poised to hit this number, but there's never any charts. It's just kind of like ideas and thoughts thrown into the atmosphere. Yeah, that's where Bitcoin is going, and it's breakout time for Bitcoin news. And yeah, let's move on. So this was also extremely popular news, and it feels almost bittersweet. I think I can use the term bittersweet there, or like awkwardly sweet. You'll see what I'm talking about. The SEC over the course of the cryptocurrency market's history has been just one of pure ridiculousness and nonsense, and like anger and frustration has come from the actions that they've done over the course of so long within this market. There was recently I think it's called the deposition, I believe, in front of Congress, where all members of the SEC had to come forward and basically like testify, if you will. And the things that were said were like, it feels like a bit of vindication. You ever been in a situation before where like someone is like lying about you? And I mean like they're blatantly lying about you. You try and convince other people that they're also lying, and no one really knows where to stand. Like they've known, everyone in the group has known each of you for an equal amount of time. And then at some point it finally comes to light that person has been lying for 12 years, and like it's bittersweet. Like the time has passed. Like this should have come to light a long time ago, and doing it now is like cool. I was right this whole time, but it's also like you waited more than a decade. That's what it kind of feels like. SEC commissioner, her name is Hester Pierce. Sometimes people in crypto awkwardly refer to her as crypto mom. Like, get help. You don't know this woman. Stop calling her your mother. Stop calling her mom. That's been something for like 3 years. The reason why people call Hester Pierce crypto mom is because she's kind of the only one in the entire regulatory industry who's ever like given us like a thumbs up or said like, I'm going to try and help. But to automatically call her mother it's extremely weird. She also has a name. Her name is Hester Pierce. She doesn't have to be referred to as like your sister or your mom or your aunt. Like she's a commissioner. Just call her Hester Pierce. Hester Pierce addressed the regulatory ambiguity surrounding crypto classification during a recent congressional hearing. Oh yeah, it gets really rough, I promise you. Yesterday's hearing saw 5 SEC commissioners, Gary Gensler, Hester Pierce, James Lizarraga, Mark Uyeda, and Caroline Crenshaw, testify before the U.S. House Financial Services Committee. As reported earlier, this landmark event marked the first time since 2019 that all SEC commissioners testified before Congress. During the hearing, Pierce criticized the SEC. She's popular for also years ago. For those of you who didn't get it, why the ETFs were so popular when we finally got them is because people have been trying to get them since around 2012. That's not a fake year. Literally 2012. There were all these conversations about the New York bit license and all these other things. And the Winklevoss twins had been trying to get Bitcoin ETFs for that long. And they were constantly shot down over and over and over. And Hester Pierce is the only person from the SEC to come forward multiple times and basically admit that there was a vote happening behind the scenes, and that Gary Gensler, no, actually, she mentioned it was everyone else in the SEC kept on voting nay, and she was the only yay in the every single vote over and over and over. That's why when we got the ETFs in January, it was such a big deal because Gary Gensler actually voted yes. Historically, everyone has always voted no. So he was the actual swing vote. During the hearing, Pierce criticized the SEC for using imprecise language to create confusion about whether a token itself is a security or part of an investment contract. Do you understand that? The SEC, so she literally just admitted that the SEC over multiple years has been purposefully using imprecise language to make sure that we don't know what they're talking about. One of the largest problems within the cryptocurrency space, and one of the largest problems, has been regulation because the regulators, Gary Gensler, has not been regulating. It's very simple because other countries have done the same, to simply announce that a coin is a security. And all you basically have to do as a company, if you control the coin, is to register with them. So this goes for Coinbase, this goes for Binance, this goes for Kraken, this goes for Gemini. This will go for Sony and every other company who's creating their own coin or their own stable coin. You basically have to register it with the SEC. However, if your coin explicitly has no leader to it, we know that XRP was gifted to Ripple from the guy who made Stellar Lumens. He literally just kind of gave it to me, here guys, take it, I don't need it anymore. And that coin was then released into the wild. Ripple, actually, the company has no control over the coin, regardless of what any Bitcoin maximalist was trying to get people to believe in 2017. If the company Ethereum created Ether and then released it into the wild, they don't have control over the token. The Ethereum Foundation might have a large amount of Ether because they've been accumulating and minting and buying over the course of years, but they don't control the token explicitly. If we hear that Cardano was created by Charles Hoskinson and friends, and they released the coin into the wild for the public to use, they don't control the coin. The problem is that the SEC had said basically that all these coins are securities with no actual range or reason behind it. They simply said, well, that token associated with this thing is now a security. But why? That doesn't make any sense. And now that I'm even thinking about it even more, this means that the entire 4-year lawsuit against Ripple was a complete farce. That's why I also, for those of you who didn't see it, the SEC was demanding, I think, $2 or $3 billion from Ripple, the company, with absolutely no basis behind any of it except for actual greed. Criticized the SEC for using imprecise language to create confusion about whether a token itself is a security or part of an investment contract. According to Hester Pierce, the agency's continuous use of imprecise language has wrongly suggested that the token itself is a security. She even breaks it down, which is absolutely terrible. She emphasized that this lack of clarity affects how the token can be traded in the secondary market and who can list it. She's admitting all of it. She literally had to come forward and basically say, like, no, the SEC this entire time has made people think like the exact wrong thing. Remember, I told you before, I've said this over multiple years, the only thing that should, by securities laws, actually be deemed a security is a contract that you enter into with that coin. So let's say you are taking your Ether or your Cardano or any other bridged asset, it doesn't matter. And you enter into a smart contract that says if you lock your coins up in this thing, or if you do this to your coins, or if you create a wrapped version of this and you send it to this protocol and you send it to this and you do it this way and you send it to so-and-so, and you at the end of all of it receive a 15% return on your money, that has, by logic and law, that has to be a security. Not you holding the coin by yourself, but you entering into a contract with a literal smart contract with a company who has created a protocol who is guaranteeing you a return on your money. That is a security. Like, that is the actual standard idea of a security. It's you, the consumer or the investor or the retail, whatever, entering into a contract, a literal contract with a company or an institution with an expected return on your actual investment. I am buying this thing to lock into this protocol, to put onto this cryptocurrency exchange to get a dedicated return every single year on your money. It's not the coin, it's the product that you're entering into. And that's been the entire issue this entire time. Making people think that every single coin is a security should actually be illegal. And I mean that from like an honest standpoint. The entire SEC has done nothing but lied over and over. And the only person who we've constantly heard about has been Hester Pierce, who came forward, and she doesn't have any power. Like when 5 people have to vote to create Captain Dystopia, she sits there and she goes, I'm sorry, like I voted yes for this and I can't do anything about it. So now having to like actually say all of this before Congress. She emphasized that this lack of clarity affects how the token can be traded in the secondary market and who can list it. Notably, Hester Pierce slammed the commission. Can you imagine working for this company and you have to basically like be like, no, like it's terrible. Like they've lied this entire time. Slammed the commission for neglecting its duty by not being precise with industry stakeholders. Interestingly, Pierce referenced the SEC's comments in the Binance lawsuit, in which the agency apologized for the confusion it created through its use of the term crypto asset securities. This is what I mean, like when I talk about bittersweet. This should have never been a thing. They should have been regulating properly from the get-go. And I'll even say it this way as well. There have been so many scams and schemes and all these other things within the cryptocurrency space over multiple years. Also because of the way that Gary Gensler and the other guy, who was the former SEC commissioner from 2016 to 2020. It's mainly been because of them. They've done everything that they could to make sure that they regulated by force, and they gave no one any proper answers. Every single cryptocurrency exchange came forward at some point, and they all said, some of them said daily they would have an assistant call the SEC. Are we doing everything okay? Is everything working out? They said many times they wouldn't even receive a response to their call. No one would call them back. They said they would send emails. Some of them said they sent physical letters, like they wrote out letters to the SEC asking for clarity and asking for guidance. And they said after 5 years of running their business, they assumed everything was okay because the SEC literally never knocked on their door. That's why it was such a huge thing. I think it was last year when Coinbase got a lawsuit, Binance got a lawsuit, Kraken got a lawsuit, and even Gemini. They were also thrown under the bus, and they were all like, we don't understand. We've done everything that we should have done to contact the SEC, and no one ever contacted us back. And then they start launching these lawsuits, basically saying that all of these websites were offering securities, and they wrote crypto asset securities. What does that make you think? That makes you think that all the coins that you have listed on your platform are securities, that something is wrong with them. And that's why we had this like major delisting scandal a long time ago, not even just with XRP, but many other coins like fell off of multiple platforms, or they lost trading pairs, or they, all these other things. It's because of this. It says earlier this month, the SEC admitted in a footnote that the term does not apply or imply that crypto assets themselves are securities, but a shorthand for the set of contracts and expectations surrounding the distribution of the token. Reacting to the comment, Pierce said the SEC should have admitted earlier that the token itself is not a security. I wonder if Ripple can get their $100 million back. I think Ripple was forced to pay the SEC $125 million. It kind of almost feels like a trial by fire that these companies like had to go through to like prove they were worthy enough to be able to do business in the United States. Can you imagine you started a business and you had a 4-year lawsuit against you? And in one deposition, one person got on stage and basically admitted that the SEC lied. In one fell swoop. None of these coins, I told you, and I don't work for the SEC. None of these coins are securities. If you enter into a contract, as the SEC law says, this law is also from, I think, 1929. It sounds like a joke. It's not. It's before telephones were widely available, before we even knew what an internet was or a computer. It basically says if you buy something and enter into a contract or work with someone else or a company with an expectation of profit from their workings, from what they do, this is a securities contract. If you buy a stock, you are expecting that Apple is going to perform well. Stocks are securities. If you buy an ETF, these are also securities. Like ETFs are a securitized version of Bitcoin. This was actually major news. And that's what kind of shocked me because normally stuff like this just doesn't make it into popular news or gets lightly spoken about. Even more so, Tom Emmer is a bit of a, what's the term? He's always in cryptocurrency news, and he's kind of loud. Loud is the only term that I can think of. He makes himself known within the cryptocurrency space. People were also coming down on Gary Gensler as well, and I'm like shocked because we've been talking like this has been such a huge topic of discussion for more than a decade. The lambasting continued with Tom Emmer accusing Gary Gensler of abusing the agency's enforcement tools. He said you've even baited companies eager to comply with you only to hit them with an enforcement action. Over the past few years, the SEC, oh my gosh, this is terrible. Think of what these people have done to the entire industry. And I mean, like, not even from a crypto's amazing, like we shouldn't have had regulation standpoint. Like, I think we need some level of regulation so that if there is a problem that you can get your money back. That's what I mentioned before. If you are on a crypto exchange and something happens, I want you to be able to get your money back. If you enter into a smart contract or a contract with a company who says, hey, I can get you guaranteed 29% per year back on your money, and they don't, I want you to be able to get your money back. That's the point of regulation. But they've soured and destroyed the entire thing. People aren't going to trust them anymore. Over the past few years, the SEC has brought legal action against several, all of them. Every single company at some point has been slammed into the ground. Ripple, Coinbase, Kraken, BlockFi, Telegram, Celsius, Binance. He said, "You've retaliated against businesses and people who have come before this committee to talk about the next generation of American finance." Remember I told you before, there's, was it Nigeria? I want to say Nigeria. Nigeria is doing everything in their power to make sure that people never do business with them in crypto ever again. I mean, they are running the marathon to make sure that when this entire Binance thing is done, that like no one ever works with them again. For those of you who didn't see it, I don't judge you. Basically, the allegedly, and I have to say allegedly, we know what's going on, but allegedly, a higher up in Binance was in the country trying to work with them, trying to work with the government, work with the country. And all of a sudden, the higher ups in Nigeria basically claimed that Binance was fostering money laundering, like idiots, like actual idiots. It's just about like momentary greed as opposed to like actual building something with these companies who are taking over the world. They claimed that Binance was fostering money laundering. They gave no actual information behind it except for that, and then said that Binance had to pay them, I think, like $3.5 million, which just goes to show how stupid they actually are. Your entire thing, you claim that there's all these problems when you just want money in your pocket. And I mean, unlike the actual like super corrupt SEC who's asking for $100 million, you idiots ask for 3.5. Binance refused, and they were like, we didn't do anything wrong. And apparently one of their higher ups in the company who was in Nigeria trying to work with them got taken into custody. And basically he's been there for like 2 or 3 months and no one's looking after him. Apparently he's not doing well at all, at least at the time of me making this video. And it's like, you had the opportunity to do something amazing for your country. Crypto's only been around for 14, 15 years. Imagine if you were the country, Nigeria or any other country, who made sure that every other company who had been sidelined or had something done wrong to them by the US SEC, you said, come over here. We'll give you 0% taxes for the next 10 years. We'll give you so-and-so. We'll give you visas. We'll give you blah, 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 blah. Work with us. Build this in our country. Instead, you kidnap someone and ask for $3.5 million. Like actual idiots, like actual complete idiots. Imagine giving up making billions of dollars. You know what billions of dollars over the course of a 10 to 15 year period would do for their economy, for their infrastructure? And it's like nobody wants to work with them anymore. Why would I even think of traveling there to visit? It's the same exact thing for the US SEC. You had all these years to work with these companies. A huge portion of the cryptocurrency industry is in the United States. People want to give you money. People want to work there. And instead, you've filed lawsuits and gave them wrong language. You didn't answer phone calls. You didn't answer emails, letters, smoke signals. Like none of it. It's very, very sad. It's very, very sad. But I mean, maybe this is all meant to be. Maybe the crypto industry is meant to be somewhere else. Not even joking. Maybe it's meant to be in Canada. Maybe it's meant to be in Mexico. Maybe Latin America. I mean, maybe it's, I don't understand. So there was and still is speculation that Gary Gensler might have been doing all of this for political reasons. That was a thing that we heard maybe a year ago. I don't remember the exact time frame. That basically Gary Gensler might be trying to become a political something at some point, and therefore he was trying to flex his muscles to show the industry that I can be taken seriously, so that he actually gets into office. Nobody wants to work with you anymore. No one likes him. That was also news last year as well. Like, it was actually really weird. Like, everyone in Congress, everyone in the Senate, everyone in the SEC, everyone who sits next to this man in an office literally said, like, no, we don't like him. Like, he's not nice to work with at all. Very, very, very bittersweet. I would love to believe that the SEC or that Gary Gensler is going to actually do his job now, because regulations aren't a problem. We have regulations on everything. Your banks are regulated. Like, everything has regulations. It's just a matter of, like, if we had gotten this back in 2015, how different would the industry be now? Like, think of it. If we had gotten this in 2017, if in 2020 the SEC sat down and they said, okay, well, we can't leave our homes anyway. Let's get this together. Where the industry would be right now. Crazy, right? And I also would love to believe that them literally admitting that they lied in the phrasing of what they did, and that these tokens are not securities, that we would also be able to kind of move on as an industry. But I also have a gigantic question mark there as well. Oh boy. Yeah. I think that's going to do it for this video. I do hope that you've all enjoyed. I do hope you all are having a great day, morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are, wherever the heck you might be. I do hope it's absolutely fantastic. Thank you all once again for watching, listening, liking, commenting, and supporting. And I will most certainly be talking to you all soon. See you.